certain people that do know that name, and they know it because it has to be legally known, but everybody else calls me a different name. And they're
Yeah.
helping me with the process of like all the changing process, which kind of some tomfoolery.
I'm in this like weird purgatory state right now where in the state of Illinois, my name is legally Parker, but federally my name is still like Olivia was my former name. Uh,
Mm.
and so like now anytime I have like, I'm using like my insurance or anything like that, it's still my old name, but then like my all my documentation says Parker, so it's just like this awful. I have to carry like 10
Oh
things around of like my
no.
documents. It's been frustrating. And like there's been no barriers that have like made it more difficult for this to happen. Like it's just like a challenging process and very frustrating. But luckily, every company that I like do business with just by coincidence and my job, like they all let me update my name for the most part before I even changed it legally. So like really the only thing that changed was my ID, you know.
Yeah, that's actually very good. And that's a good point. I mean, I carry documents around because I have three birth certificates from one country. And I have like a citizen abroad certificate. So it's a weird thing. So it's like I understand that level of process, and then of course they're like, well, legally we have to do this, and like I have like I got lucky, so it's like my pharmacy. I go pick up stuff. I don't even say my first name. I just hand them my ID, and they go, "Nice to see you, Drew. Nice to see you." Like,
That's actually
yeah.
one of the places that I still like. There's like I still get they're like, "You're Miss Gunther," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well,
Eh, it's a,
sort of,"
it's
but like,
it's a snow. It's just snow. We're just like
yeah, right.
no. I
I
did
always
have
find
to
it funny.
tell them.
But yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like even when I say it, like they just, I mean, it's Chicago, right? There's a lot of people here, like they, don't remember,
Yeah.
but I do find it funny, like when people, like if somebody looks androgynous, like, and maybe it's because I'm queer, right? But like if somebody looked like androgynous, I would never be like, oh, hello, miss, like, like I would just like assume that maybe I shouldn't be guessing, like I find it interesting when people do that, but
I think I heard somebody once go, it's like, what do I use for Mr. or Mrs.? And somebody goes, well, hello, you. And I was like, that's adorable.
yeah,
I like that one. That's adorable. Hello, you. I mean, but there is that thing. It's like, there was MX, but like, how do you pronounce that? And I'm like,
I
I
have
don't know
no
how to
clue.
pronounce it. I've heard of it, like legally, but I've not like, because I do HR, so I know like, we have that. But it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know how to say that. Mixed.
Is that how you say it?
I don't know. We'll
There.
figure it out. One of these days, Parker, you and I will figure it out. We'll message each other. We figured it out. But
There's a lot of I have a couple non-binary friends, and like there are a couple times where like you'll go to say something and like it'll be like king or queen or whatever, and like I'm just like, wait, royalty, and they're like, we just start laughing because like there's no word for it yet, but like
yeah, no, I actually have some non-binary people I work with, so I understand that. It's like,
yeah,
how do you? But then I also look at like Jonathan Van Ness. They're non-binary and they use Queen on stuff all the time. So I'm like, okay, well, so that works for them, but it's also I think it's very individualistic. And then so there's
right,
like kind of talk about that, which is super cool, which I really like. So okay, getting back to you, you said you've always kind of known that you were, you know, it's just different, or like I like to call it, it's just different or unique in your own aspect. Like,
yeah,
how did that affect your life? Like, while you said like you heard about like all these statistics. Like, I knew I grew up with Boys Don't Cry. That was
Mhm.
my era, and my dad actually did. I don't think he loves Hillary Swank, so he was just watching Hillary Swank movies. And we
right,
watched that when I was really young, and I was like, all of a sudden, I was like in tears. I was like, oh God, I'm gonna die, you know, type of situation. And then, of course, I had a bad reaction from the next girlfriend. I was like, hey, I was thinking about, transitioning and stuff.
Mhm.
It just didn't go well. So it was actually my wife giving me permission without me ever coming out to her and just telling
Mhm.
me that, if you ever decide to transition, she'll love me. And I was like, "Ugh." And then
That's
and then
sweet.
years later, my mom's stubborn and she was great for it, and I'm pretty appreciate that. So like that's kind of like nutshell like my process of like what struggled with me. What was it with you that happened?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't always know, but it's kind of a weird like there were times in my life where I was very young that I knew, and
Mm.
then there were times that I like seemingly forgot. And I know that sounds super weird, but like, uh, I mean, when I was like really young, like I just remember like not even trans or even like different. I was just like, yeah, like I'm a guy, and like teachers would separate me and put me with the girls, and I would just be like confused. Um,
Oh.
and like I don't know, I remember like I asked. Uh, I asked like some people in first grade to call me like Garrett, um, which I'm really glad I didn't run with that name long term. But but yeah, I mean, so
That's
so
good.
yeah, right. There were times in my life that I knew, um, and then I remember specifically. So I met a trans woman when I was about 10, um, and everyone I knew responded really poorly to her. Like she was like
Oh,
super sweet, she was great, but like everybody else was just like pretty awful and cruel. And I remember seeing that, and like I was in a band with her son, and she like sat us all down and was like, okay, like this is what this means because somebody made some like comment, and I immediately was like, yeah, like 100%, that makes sense. I know that's who I am. Uh, this is a problem though because everybody's not cool with you, so like I'm just gonna. And I just remember like in
mm,
that moment being like, I'm pretty sure this is who I am, but like it's just not going to be anymore, and I kind of
yeah.
like thought it was something that I could just like turn off. And so I like literally packed up all of my clothing and like brought it to my mom's door and was like, hey mom, can we go shopping? I want to be a girl now. Like I literally said I want to be a girl now. uh, and then like I went super hard in the other direction, and I just like was constantly policing like everything about myself, and like the way I was sitting to talking to like acting to like the activities I did, like literally to the extent of like I changed my favorite color because somebody told me it was masculine, you know.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and I was just like super anxious all the time. Like I still have anxiety, but it was like unbearable. Like I could barely get through days. Like I would pick at my fingers to the point where I'd be bleeding in the middle of meetings. Like I was so anxious all the time that like by the time I came out, I was just like it was such a relief. I can't even I can't even explain like how like drastically even like my some of my like family friends that have known me my whole life will like joke at how I'm like an entirely different person. Like I still act the same, but it's just like you know, like less like, panicked talking and like fidgeting all the time and, just like more calm. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like a level of relief that calms down some of the anxiety.
definitely.
I can't even imagine witnessing that and being like, oh God, and stuff like that. Like, what was your favorite color? What is your favorite color?
So, okay, my favorite color, and like now it's back to like a dark red, like almost maroon color.
Hmm.
And that for some reason, 7-year-old me decided that the best way to explain it was blood red, which is like horrifying coming from a 7-year-old. But
I
but
mean,
that was always my favorite color. And then I remember like one of my friends telling me it was masculine, and it wasn't even like making fun of me or anything. Just like offhand, just was like, oh, that's like kind of a masculine color. And then like literally from then on, I was like, my sister's favorite color was blue, and so I was like, no, my favorite color is blue. Like that's it. We're good. This is my favorite color now.
oh my God, you know what? I actually think I know a lot of like really feminine girls whose favorite color is blood red, like maroon blood red. Like,
7-year-old me would have loved that information, but
ah, ah, sorry. Oh my God. I do think though, if you went up to your mom and said, I want to be a girl now, that probably explains why they're dealing with it easier because they're like, okay,
yeah,
well, this was already coming. We already kind of knew. And I think that was always probably a little helpful. Is your family still in LA?
yeah, they're all well. My sister's in New York. The rest of my family is still in LA.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but with that though, like at the same time, like when I look back, it's easy for me to be like, oh, like I knew when I was 7, I knew when whatever. But
Yeah.
like there were also times like if somebody would have come up to me while I was like late in high school or like in college when I was in a sorority and been like, oh, like you're gonna come out in a couple of years as trans, I would have been like, you're insane. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like you're crazy. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's easy. Like I could just as easily say like I always knew as I could like say that I figured it out super late in life. It kind of just depended on like the year and the month. Like
I agree. It depends on the year, the month, and the situation because um, I think it's because my wife went to Ball State, so Indiana, and I met her in
yeah, yeah.
Indiana actually. And we were with one of her former coworkers and her roommate, I think, and he came up to me. He's like, "Oh, how long you been transitioning?" And I was like, "I'm not transitioning." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's
Yeah,
like crazy. If only you could see me now. you know,
yeah.
I think that was like 4 years ago too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't it funny how like other people can see it? Like I don't even. I came
yeah.
out
I just
while
but
I was in the sorority. I came out to a couple of my friends as like I think gender fluid was the word that I had used at the time.
mhm.
Um, and like one of them was like, yeah, like I know, but you shouldn't make this a thing though. Like we know that's who you are, but like don't, and was like
Don't
not
worry
great
about it.
about the response. But yeah, but was like we know, like was not surprised, which I've always found pretty funny. But
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. So I was like, I got top surgery in Florida because my family's in Florida,
oh, no,
and we drove from Miami, from Dr. Gallagher in Miami to Palmetto, which is where my grandparents are,
okay.
which is a weird thing. Like the day after surgery,
Mhm.
went to go have dinner with my family, and my family was super cool about it. They use the right pronouns. Well, at one point my grandmother called me Doug, which is my dad's name, which was kind of amusing. But
That's
like
fun.
the first instant I walked in there, and my grandfather looks like, "Oh my God, you look like a young Doug," and he's like, I was talking to my friend about you because my friend's a voice pathologist or something like that, and he's talking about all these changes and how crazy it is, and he's like telling everybody, he's super like, I'm like, Grandpa, stop outing me, but it's cute, but stop outing me.
That's so funny.
Um, yeah, it's great because they're like in their late 70s and like they're super supportive, and then my entire German side of family, because my other family's in Germany, super supportive. I got
Yeah,
really lucky when it came to like the close family things, and like most of the friends and stuff. I had a few friends that didn't work out with, and unfortunately, like I did lose some long-term friendships. But like that's bound to happen. Not everybody's going to be there for you. But I was
fair.
talking to a military buddy of mine, like I think it was last week, and I've known this guy 8, 9, 10 years, something like that.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Yeah, I've always known. Just waiting for your dumbass to come out." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's rude." It's like,
You couldn't have told me. Come on. Like,
right?
yeah.
But
That's
he's
actually,
a
my grandparents also like had a pretty similar response. Like, so my grandmother is like I don't even know how to describe her other than just like insane. Like I love her so much. She's like probably my best friend, but like absolutely
I love
crazy.
that. I love
And
that.
and she's like probably maybe like 83 or something like that. And her boyfriend is 93. Uh, I know.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So, and they're hilarious. Like they're adorable. But he actually has he adopted like 7 kids in
Hmm.
his time, and he has a grandson who is trans actually.
Oh
So when
wow.
I like cut off all my hair and I kind of started like looking a little bit more masculine, he was like, "Okay, I know what's going on." So he actually like talked to my grandmother and was like, "Hey, like completely unrelated to Parker, or like, at the time, my old name, but like completely unrelated. Like, this is my grandson who's transgender, and what that means is, and like gave her like a one-on-one like lesson of like what it meant
Oh
and like
my God, that's
all these things.
awesome.
And then my mom like prepped my grandma a lot too, which I found out later. But when I came out to my grandmother, her first and like pretty much only question was like, she like kind of paused for a second and was like, okay, do you have suits? And I was like, did you hear what I said? And she was like, yeah, okay, so like I get it, you're a guy now, so like you're not gonna wear dresses anymore. It's like, do you have suits? Do we need to take you shopping? Like what?
Oh my God.
Like her only concern was like, okay, that's fine, you can wear whatever you want, we'll call you whatever you want, but like you can still come to family functions like dressed well, right? Like that's
That's adorable. Okay, you're not
yeah,
gonna wear dresses anymore, but do you have suits? Wait, what,
right,
Grandma? Did you listen to me? I just came out. Yes, yes, I understand it, but you need to dress well at family
yeah,
functions. Let's go get your suits. Type of reaction.
right,
That's cutest.
right.
Oh my
Adorable.
God.
I love that. That was like by far the best response I've had to coming out.
I know. Oh, it came out. My grandma asked me, what happened? Oh, grandma asked me if I had suits.
Yeah, my mom
I
was like,
came
happy,
out.
bro.
I know. I came out. My grandpa goes like, "You don't have much up there. You sure you need surgery?" I was like, "Rude. My
That's
family's
so funny.
rude." Yeah, they're right. So tell me what about your future plans on what you want to do with your career and with how you can be like an advocate for younger trans people. Like what is it that you want to do?
Yeah. Uh, that's a complicated question. So I wanted to be a venture capitalist when I was like 14, and like that pretty
Okay.
consistently is like has been a long term goal. Um,
Okay.
but the more and more I work like at Discover and kind of like work more in like a traditional industry job, like I think that this is like kind of becoming what I want to do long term. So I think, um, you know, like obviously accelerating my career and like the hopes of being, potentially like one of the owners of like, a product line or even of a business, somewhere else
Hmm.
would be pretty awesome. But I'm kind of like open to possibilities at this point. I've really liked strategy work. Um, and in terms of like, I've talked a little bit about my mom recently, actually, about like potentially switching into like more of a DE and I function within my career. which I think
Mhm.
I've decided against formally doing.